going to continue to ask all Houstonians to stay off the street. But I want to underscore this. I'm asking all Houstonians to stay off the street, but our first responders are on the street. And they are on the street at night in very treacherous situations. And so cannot say enough for them that are working around the clock. I want to give you an update on the Northeast Water Plant, since that's very important to the city and to areas, communities that are supplied clean water by that plant. Jeff, you want to come in and give us an update?
Crews have continued working at the plant. The water plant is operating. Houston's water is safe, and we don't expect any change in that situation.
Thanks. And I appreciate Public Works support on that effort. A lot of conversation in reference to Addicks and Barker Reservoir. We indicated on yesterday that they were raising their release level from where it was yesterday, 5,000 cubic feet per second, up to 8,000 gradually, and I think they have reached that point. But I want, well, Steve, if you will come and kind of bring us up to date on that.
Thank you, Mayor. Good morning. This morning we were advised by the Corps of Engineers that the Addicks Dam will have some what we call uncontrolled release rates starting this morning. Basically, the ponding levels in the dam have exceeded the elevation at the tail, which is north end between Clay Road and Tanner. That uncontrolled release rate will continue through probably September 20th to some degree of level, peaking out at some time during August 31st in about 2 days. We are in close contact with the Corps of Engineers as well as with Harris County Flood Control District to get a better understanding of where that overflow is going to meander through, what neighborhoods. We anticipate it will be confined within the areas just west of Beltway 8, between the reservoir and Beltway 8, and the north side would be Tanner and the south side would be I-10. So we'll have a better handle as we move forward. We just want to make sure that we put the communities on notice to be mindful of what's going on in that area. And so, again, we're in close contact with flood control, and also we've been advised also that Barker Reservoir will have some overflow as well, to a much lesser degree. But both reminding everybody that both reservoirs flow into Buffalo Bayou. And what flood control has said to us is if you're looking at a floodplain map of Buffalo Bayou, the flooding that's been occurring is right around the 500-year floodplain level, and they anticipate that that's about what it's going to be as we move forward, even with these overflows in the future. So if you have any other questions relative to that, I'd be happy to answer them later on. Thank you.
If you'll speak to the water level in the Kingwood area.
Yes, so we had another discussion with flood control about what's going on at the West Fork of the San Jacinto River. We were advised by the San Jacinto River Authority that they have started to decrease their discharges out of Lake Conroe. They have leveled off. The flooding on the West Fork of the San Jacinto, which is the south part of Kingwood, has not yet peaked, and it's about a half a foot above the 500-year floodplain. And so we're just trying to make sure that we monitor that as we move forward. Flood control is again monitoring those, and we anticipate getting some additional information from them as we move forward the next couple of days.
Okay, so we're monitoring very carefully those two areas from Kingwood into the areas that will be impacted by the release of water from the Addicks and Barker Dam. And as a precaution, we are looking at setting up an additional shelter in the on the west side of Houston, and I'll make that announcement sometime today as well as a necessary precaution. What I will say to people throughout the city of Houston is that please be alert. Please be on notice. The situation still remains dynamic and will be dynamic throughout the next 24 hours. But we are monitoring the situation carefully. If, based on the modeling and things that we see, if we think there's going to be additional flooding, for example, in these areas, we will quickly advise you and then recommend a course of action. So just be on notice. Things are dynamic. We're trying to get more specific, detailed information as, for example, what the release means. Coming from these from Addicks and Barker, and so but we want to stay on top of that, and we'll advise you accordingly. I think those are all the things that I intended to recover. The outages remain flawed.
Yes, sir.
You want to just cover that?
Thank you, Mayor. CenterPoint Energy continues to have about 100,000 customers without electric service. The flood is a challenge in terms of getting crews to where repairs are needed. Over the last 24 hours, our crews restored service to 240,000 customers, yet we still have 100,000 customers without service. As fast as we get them on, we're losing additional customers. Since Harvey hit on Friday, 580,000 customers have been restored. At this point, 96% of the customers in the area have electric service, but the ones who don't, we want you to know you're a priority for us, and as conditions allow, we will be getting that service back on. And one final point, families help families and neighbors help neighbors. If you've been without service and you know people who have electric service and you need access to that, please help each other. Thank you.
I want to underscore, this is a storm of historic proportions, not just to the city of Houston, and not just to the Harris County, but to the entire region. The city of Houston is serving as a hub center, if I can use that, not just for the people of Houston, but the people that are in the area. And so, for example, at the George R. Brown, we have not turned anyone away. And, there are many people at the George R. Brown that are coming from outside of the city of Houston. The point is they're in a point of need, and we will be there for them. That is also one of the reasons why we are going to be opening up 2, possibly 3 additional shelters to accommodate the need, because in certain areas, for example, are ordered to evacuate outside of the city of Houston. They have to go somewhere, okay? And so we're making ourselves available to address those concerns. We want to make sure that we're not overlooking or missing anybody in the city, okay? Especially people who are seniors, people who are disabled, people who are in low-income communities. If you know of individuals, or if you think individuals especially when it comes to seniors and other disabled that may be living in neighborhoods that have flooded and they're there by themselves or they're needing to be rescued, please continue to let us know. Any life-threatening situations, please let us know and continue to use 911. I'm going to ask you again for this day to stay off the roads because there are many roads that are still not impassable. My hope is that once we get past the next, let's say, 24 hours, that the situation in the city of Houston otherwise will significantly improve. But until then, let's just continue to be very careful in terms of our mobility in the city of Houston, and let's continue to meet the needs of Houstonians that find themselves in a very stressful crisis situation. Any questions?
Yes, sir. I have a question about reports of a Houston police officer succumbing, drowning after a vehicle was swept away in high water.
I've heard those reports, and we are taking a look at it, and I don't have anything to tell you at this time.
Chief, do you?
I don't have anything to add.
Hey, Chief, can you expound on your tweet that you sent out a few hours ago about the construction of water supplies? Is there a chance, your tweet about the water supplies from earlier, you sent out a tweet in case of destruction of water supplies on a bathtub full of water. Is there a chance of...
Like they say, the water's in good shape. We don't anticipate it to go down, but always hope for the best and prepare for any disruptions. That's all that is.
Chief, any implementation of curfews at this point?
Not at this time, but as soon as we go into recovery phase or we see a need for that, we will assess at that time.
Well, you have to podium. Some of the things that we are hearing from families at the George R. Brown is they haven't turned anyone away. It's thousands of people at this point. They're hearing homeless and other sorts of people are mixed in with family members. Some of those families are now concerned about their safety. When you're dealing with mass amounts of people at these shelters, Mayor, can you speak a little bit about what you're doing to keep everyone safe?
Well, the job is to keep everyone safe, every human being safe. The doors have been open to anybody that has been out into the elements. But what I will say to you is that we are opening the doors and opening these shelters to get people out of inclement conditions. But we expect everyone to be orderly and well behaved. We do not, and we are not going to tolerate any activity that's criminal in nature or that is disruptive, okay? So the shelters are to assist people in coming out of the elements, coming out of a crisis state, stabilizing their situation. But if there's anybody that's engaging in any activity that works against that, then those individuals will be ejected. So you recognize the importance and the reason they're there. But if there's anything that makes it even uncomfortable in terms of any sort of criminal activity or bad behavior, those people will not be welcome at the shelters.
Mayor, while we're talking about the GRB,
Sure.
capacity doubled, nearly doubled from 5,000 to 10,000 folks.
It has.
At what point will you have to turn people away?
Let's put it this way. We're not going to turn anybody away from shelters. We are going to make alternative. We are going to provide additional options available.
So how close are you at the convention center to saying there's no more room at the end?
Well, let's put it this way. Everybody, the doors of the George R. Brown will not close, okay? But we will provide additional mega shelters today, within a matter of hours, for other people to go to.
But clearly that place needs some relief. I mean, we've talked to...
Relief is coming.
Relief is coming.
Right.
We know, a lot of people,
Right.
They're hot, they're tired, they're frustrated, they're grimy, and some of them are grumbling. There's too water, they're too bathrooms. They don't have enough cots.
We are going...
How can you assure them that this is going to improve?
Well, number one, let me assure you that it's going to be improved today. Number two, the number at the George R. Brown is going to be reduced today. Number three, we're still going to be able to meet the needs of anyone who is in need of shelter in the city of Houston today.
Can you guarantee that the supply chains of food, water, cots are going to get through that center?
We have made a request on FEMA for an additional 10,000 cots and additional supplies. And we have said that we need them to get here as soon as possible. I think the key thing for people who are in homes or in water, okay, they want to come out of the elements and they want a dry environment. Number one, we're going to provide them a shelter and a dry environment. Number two, once they're there, they need to be fed. They need additional clothing. We're asking Houstonians and those who can to contribute clothing of all kinds. We need that. There are a lot of people in these shelters that are children. They are kids. Not only do they need clothing, they need things to do. So if people have coloring books, if people have toys and things of that nature for these kids, we're asking you to make those things available. But I certainly understand that if you have too many people in a space too long, it creates additional problems. And but as of last night, for example, I think there were 2,000 to 3,000 people that came into the George R. Brown after 9 o'clock last night. We were not going to turn anybody away.
Let me ask you from a big picture.
Sure.
A lot of safety officials agree with your decision not to order evacuation. But at that point, of course, the challenge and responsibility is to take care of the folks who've been told to stay put. You had a hazard mitigation plan. Are you satisfied that that plan was the right plan? Do you have enough, have you done enough to take care of the folks who were told to stay put?
Let's put this, let me try to put it this way. This was a catastrophic storm. The hurricane did not hit the city of Houston. The city of Houston has been impacted by an inordinate amount of rain that fell on the city of Houston. But the city of Houston, Harris County, was not hit by the hurricane. I think in terms of, and you cannot evacuate, and I want to say this again because sometimes I guess it's being missed. You cannot evacuate 6.5 million people.
In 35 states.
Within 2 days. You cannot. That would be chaotic. We would be putting people more in harm's way. We are the fourth, and I want to be clear because the question keeps coming up, and then I'm going to add a tagline after I answer this question, and that is, we are the fourth largest city in the United States of America. Harris County, I think, is the third largest in the United States. When you combine the two, you are talking about a population of 6.5 million people. You cannot put 6.5 million people on the road 2 days before a storm that you don't know where it is going. It is absurd.
And I think I said that the safety experts agree with you, but then what is the plan for those 6 million plus people?
We asked people to prepare, and they did. At the same time, when you have an unprecedented amount of water, the things that you cannot avoid or foresee or prevent, you simply have to learn how to manage. Now, I have answered the question of evacuations over and over again. There will be a proper time to do that. My primary concern for all the talking heads out there and the people who are second-guessing, come and join us in rescuing people right now that need to be rescued. I am more concerned about first responders who are working late at night in treacherous conditions. I'm concerned about first responders who are going without their medicine. I have police officers and firefighters right now who are living in neighborhoods that are flooding or about to flood, and they have left their homes in order to take care of other people, and their families remain in harm's way. I'm concerned about seniors and people who are disabled, low-income individuals, communities in the inner city, in Kingwood, in Clear Lake, in Fort Bend, in Denver Harbor, in Spring Branch. Those are the people that I'm concerned with. That's where my priority is. I'm going to allow all the people on social media and talking heads to talk, but they don't have the responsibility of managing or running this city. I do. And that's where my focus is. I want to focus on the people who need my help now. And I'm going to allow people who spend a lot of time behind a desk, not providing any support, not sending in one piece of clothing, but can talk what people want to see. They want to see whether or not their needs are being met. This is the city of Houston. We are the fourth largest city. Can you imagine a city like LA or anybody else city moving in 2 days? You can't. But we can take care of what is in front of us, and that's exactly what we're going to do. Yes, ma'am.
I want to be clear about the Houston police officers, clear as you can be. Can you confirm what we've heard reports of a Houston police officer losing their life last night or recently, being swept away in a vehicle?
I can't confirm, but we're certainly looking at all of our police officers, all of our firefighters. We want to make sure that they're accounted, that we can account for them, but I can't confirm at this time.
So you can't account for all the police officers right now?
No, what I'm saying is that I want to make sure that we know where all of our first responders are, and so I can't give you an answer at this time.
Mr. Mayor, can I get back to the rescues? There are viewers who are watching this press conference right now. I know we have a lot of questions. You're talking about the shelters.
Yes.
And it's one of these double-edged swords, Mayor, where if you can stay inside your home, stay inside your home.
Yes.
The roads we're seeing still aren't clear.
Yes.
The shelters we're working on opening.
Yes.
I just got a message from someone who's watching this press conference. She wants to know, is there any word those Red Cross mobile food trucks, food coming out to the folks who want to stay in their homes and keep firefighters and police out of harm's way? Can we get supplies to these folks in the flooded areas? Let's talk about these people.
And we are making requests on Red Cross for additional supplies. You know, of course, their resources are being taxed because they're servicing the entire region. We made an additional request on FEMA for additional supplies, and we're going to try not only to take care of people in the shelters, but assist people in the communities, in the neighborhoods as well.
So what should we tell them today that help is coming?
Port Aransas, any areas that are now in a mode of active recovery and rehab and so forth, and that might nearby, they have sent crews. And so, as is their tradition, they have been called upon to help Texas Task Force 1 in Rockport, Aransas Pass, and Port A to deal with the aftermath of this hurricane. And they've been plugged in pretty much as needed in the recovery and rehab effort. We're told most recently they helped to restore the Port A Volunteer Fire Department to viability. That facility was extensively damaged by the winds of Harvey, but they got that back up and running so that they could handle any fires that might break out and so forth. And so that's what part of what the Annabelle volunteers were doing, and I'm just assuming here that when he goes to Annabelle, he's going to meet perhaps with the chief of that department, Michael Clack, and kind of see and talk with some of the volunteers who've been participating in the recovery effort. So the president's plane just touching down here at Corpus Christi International Airport this morning. And my understanding is that we have a bunch of media there, of course, including our own Michael Gibson, who we're going to hear from in just a short while, but really nothing else. And so we're not sure at this point if he's going to make any remarks at the airport. We're, as you can see, there's some distance away from Air Force One, so we're not able to really know at this point what he's doing. Perhaps we can, we're trying to move the camera, I think, so that we can get a shot and get an idea of just how close he is. All right, well, someone is there, so apparently they're just taxiing into position. And we're all kind of watching this together. A lot of people have asked me when the last time a president made a stop in Corpus Christi. It doesn't happen very often. Sure does not. I'll tell you what, let's, and I will get into what I remember about that in just a couple of moments. But first, let's go ahead and see if we can establish contact with Michael Gibson for an overview of what's happening there at the airport. Michael, can you hear me?
Yes, Joe, we're here along Leopard Street, right in front of the Annabelle Volunteer Fire Department. You can see it's been turned into a fortress. There's all kinds of Secret Service, police, Sheriff's Department, you name it, and they seem to be here. On the other side of the street, we have a lot of supporters. We've only seen Trump signs, and people have only talked about wanting to come here to see the president. We're all being moved on this side of the street. We're between Calico and Violet right now. Why did some of y'all come out here this morning?
Oh my goodness, it's the President of the United States.
You're that excited?
Yes, absolutely.
You think he'll stop, talk to anybody?
Yeah, I hope so.
What do you think?
I think this is exciting. In Cal Allen, of all places, in Texas, he chose to come right here on Leopard Street. Happened to be driving by and happened to see all the crowd and really excited.
What do you think about the response from the state and federal government to the disaster?
Awesome. They're very quick to respond to everything, and it's just been a wonderful, wonderful representation of what's at the White House right now.
All right, thank you very much. That's what people are saying here along Leopard Street. And again, we've got a nice long line of perhaps 150 people. We were here at the very beginning, and people have slowly filled up and gotten here. Controlled chaos, I guess you could say. Police are trying to move everybody into one section. But again, that's where the president is going to be. Apparently going to go inside the Annabelle Volunteer Fire Department to speak inside the fire department. You can see the black drapes have been put over the firehouse doors, and all the trucks have been parked strategically to block anyone from doing anything if they so chose. Again, we're here live, and we'll be here as the president's motorcade comes through. Joe?
Michael Gibson, thank you so much. Live in Annabelle, where the president is intending to make a stop, as we said, to meet with members of the Annabelle Fire Department, Annabelle volunteers who have been taking part in the recovery and rehab effort in Rockport, Aransas Pass, Port Aransas, and maybe other communities, but those are the ones we know about. And so that's how he's going to get an overview, kind of a briefing on what is happening in those communities. As we said, he is not, at least according to our information right now, going to go personally to those communities to take a look for himself. You're watching a rare sight here in Corpus Christi, Air Force One. I believe that's a new 767 jet. I was told some years ago that one reason presidents could not arrive at the airport was that our runways are simply not long enough to accommodate Air Force One, but as you see there, they are. The plane has arrived, and we'll watch together as President Trump descends. Now, I remember personally some 27 years ago, 1984, right there at the airport, in a different Air Force One, landed, and President Reagan stepped off to a crowd of
trying to get as